So without further ado, I want to get this kicked off. I'm going to bring up Dalton Ross from Entertainment Weekly. Let's give Dalton a warm welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys? You having a good day? Yeah, me too. It's awesome so far, right? Got a question before we get started here. Anybody out there like horror? Me too. Well, if you like horror or thrillers or blood or prom's gone horribly, horribly wrong, and haven't we all been to a prom that's gone horribly, horribly wrong? More blood, telekinesis, redheads, if you like redheads. Or more blood, then you're in the right place. This is the place to be, all right? So welcome to the Carrie panel. We're gonna have the director, the producer, and the two stars out here, and you guys are gonna have a chance to ask them questions, so start thinking now. We'll get you up to the mics, and you can talk to them yourselves. But before that, we got another treat for you guys. You all are gonna be the first people in the world to check out a brand new, never-before-seen teaser trailer for the film. Does that sound good? Yeah, you guys wanna check that out? All right, let's roll it! Is it just me, or does she look a tad upset? Just a mite myth, that one right there. All right, let's bring them out right now. Playing Carrie White, put your hands together for Chloe Grace Moretz. She plays Margaret White, and she is Julianne Moore. Next up, we have the director of Carrie, Kimberly Pierce. And the producer of Carrie, Kevin Misher. Put your hands together for Kevin. He's coming over there. All right, so get comfortable here, guys. Kimberly, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, with Carrie, you have the original source material, which is the book by Stephen King. And then you have the 1976 film, of course, which is equally famous. I'm guessing you didn't choose to take a lot from the Broadway musical, which could have been awesome, but I'm guessing you didn't. But as you started bringing this project to life, how did you decide what to take sort of more or less from in terms of, you know, the book and the first movie?
Well, I do want to do a little shout out to Brian, because I think he set, you know, a lot in motion by making a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I'm friends with him, and I'm a huge fan of his movie. But I didn't take anything from his movie. Really, you know, for me, it was reading Stephen King's absolutely fantastic novel, falling madly in love with his depiction of Carrie, you know, Carrie's plight, Carrie's mother, all the other people in the story, and just thinking, my God, this is such a fantastic, you know, story. I need to bring this to life, and I need to bring it to life, you know, in a modern way, as it would be done now, just because it's so much fun and it's so great. So that was always what I went back to, and then, you know, we were so lucky to have this wonderful cast, you know, Chloe and Julianne, and, you know, they always took us right back to the books. I mean, that was the greatest thing, too, is like they shared this love for King's material, and, you know, we not only got to go back to the novel, but have them inhabit it in a way that was just so fantastic.
Yeah, you mentioned the book and the movie, and we talk about, you know, there are differences in the book and the first movie, some big differences. And you know, I know in the book, obviously the destruction is more widespread than just the prom and the town. And so as eagle eyes in the audience were watching that teaser, we saw a lot of fires throughout the town. So Kevin, I mean, what do you want to say about that we saw there?
Well, as Kim said, the book is an extraordinary resource, and in many ways, whenever there was a question, we went back to the book. So using the book as the resource, the destruction of the book is quite a bit bigger than the movie. So we were able to utilize that, and obviously in today's day and age, you have an opportunity to do things that you couldn't do back in the day technologically, and we were able to do it. But I think it all comes from character at the end of the day. It's not just, we didn't want to do things because we could. Kim had fun with the telekinesis because you can in different ways, but it was all wrought by the character that Chloe was playing, and that was very important.
Yeah, Chloe, tell me about that bloodbath, or I guess blood shower, if you will. That seems like the kind of scene when you're shooting and you're covered in the red stuff, like this is like the gnarliest and yet most awesome thing ever. What was that like?
It was probably the most fun for about the first 2 weeks of it. And then after that, it just got like sticky and wet, and it was like 40 degrees outside, and it was freezing. But it was amazing because each day in the blood, it became something else. And every day, there's a lot of different things where we refer to as like, we have the wet blood and the fire blood and the dry blood and like all the different type bloods. And we had to have a big collection of like, because you don't shoot chronologically, you have to kind of map out what you're doing. And it was amazing because each day throughout the character, the blood became part of who you are. And I just got used to going home every night covered in blood. And the people at the front desk were always like, wow, she must have a really hard day at work. Like, geez.
Julianne, I was going to ask you to compare this role to playing Sarah Palin, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hold back on that. Resist that urge. But I do want to know about playing Margaret, because this is a woman who does, horrific things to her daughter, but she thinks she's doing the right thing. So how do you sort of play this character and bring some humanity to it? I mean, is she a woman to be feared, or is she a woman to be feared and maybe, I don't know, pitied maybe a little bit?
Well, once again, when we went back to the book to look for all of that, and for me, the character of Margaret was really rooted in social isolation. She's somebody who kind of moved away from her family and joined a religious sect, and when that wasn't strict enough, formed her own religious sect with her husband. Then he died. She thought when she was pregnant that the child was a cancer, and then delivered the baby alone. So all that backstory is in the novel, and I thought, okay, so that means her only family, her only community is this child, is Carrie. So it really is about her trying to keep that as intact as possible. So the minute Carrie starts moving away from her, she senses real danger and then wants to, parent her. So she does come out of a sense of love and family and desire to keep her there, but it's nonetheless abusive.
The thing that's so creepy about this story is not just the blood and the violence, although, like I said, more please, more of all that. But it's the relationship between the mother and the daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it was. So if that falls flat, the whole story's not going to work. So what did you two do to really, hone that on-screen relationship?
We tried to have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, like, Julianne's like one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. And for a character like this, where we would have to go from like laughing and making jokes about like, stupid stuff, and then she'd have to be stabbing me. So it was this really kind of funny relationship we kind of had, and we're cool.
We wanted to be, I wanted us to be safe and comfortable and fun. I wanted us to have a good time together because I feel like the more connected you are as people, the further you can go as actors. I felt like as long as Chloe felt safe with me, she would feel safe. We feel safe doing the stunts together.
She shouldn't feel safe with you. Look at this film. Are you crazy?
But we were able to push it pretty far, I think. Certainly in the stunts and stuff, and that was fun.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Kimberly, you mentioned being friends with Brian De Palma, who did the original. Did you talk to him at all as you're going through this process at all of making this film?
I talked to him at the beginning, and then, he was off doing his movie, and I was doing this. And it was just great to be able to talk to somebody who loved the material as much as I did, and many years ago did such a great job with it. But he was just really supportive, and, he's a great director.
So Kevin, no split screen in this version? And we had this famous split screen shots in his.
I don't know, you have to talk to the director.
It's yet to be seen.
All right, yet to be seen. And just continuing with that, Julianne and Chloe, I'd love to hear from both of you because obviously Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie gave such iconic performances in the original. So what do you do in this situation? Do you almost have to purge those from your mind, to attack this role and make it your own?
I think, I think that neither one of us, they were both so tremendous in the film. One of the things that was exciting about working with Chloe is that she's an actual adolescent. Sissy, who was so wonderful, was 26 at the time when she made the original Carrie. And so here's somebody who's actually a teenager in a story about being a teenager. And that, for me, I think was just incredibly lucky. to have someone who's kind of in that, in that stage of their life.
Yeah, and it's interesting because everyone always asks, well, are you gonna love to Sissy's character? Are you gonna love the original movie? And you just kind of think about like, well, I don't really, I don't know. Will I love the original movie? But you have to be completely secure in what you're doing and what you're putting on screen, because I just gotta think about it like any other movie. It's just a movie and a script you love, and it's a character you love and that you really want to go into. And so you do the same thing that you do in any other film, because that's just your process, and you don't have to think about, oh, well, God, well, this scene is not going to be as good as that scene, or that scene's going to be not as good as that scene. You just got to be completely confident in what you're doing, because otherwise you'll tear yourself apart, and you just have to be secure.
I think the other thing to think about is I think that there's lots of room out there, like in terms of bandwidth of ideas. So let's say that they did a brilliant movie, and let's say those performances are fantastic. And it doesn't have to take anything away for this to be completely modern, two new people. And, there was, like Kevin was saying, there was a number of things that we are able to do now that for a lot of reasons weren't done then. So they really can exist as two separate, equal, incredibly great things. That's what I like to think. And ours is just naturally its own thing. And it's been really one of the most rewarding, fun, crazy experiences. But I can say the mother-daughter and the relationship in our movie, it's profound. And it really is the heart and soul of our entire story. And there's a ton of fun in it, right? Because they're titans who are at war with each other.
Oh, listen to that. Oh. It's not going to be that way in the movie, people. Enjoy it like you can.
Well, actually, but I'll let you in on a secret that it's a hell of a lot different in the movie than that.
Well, is there ever a moment for any of you as a producer or director, stars, like when you're making a movie like this, sometimes like the debates you have, you realize they're so absurd, like, no, he can't be impaled this way, it has to be this way, or no, that's not enough blood. Were there moments you're like, what am I doing?
Well, the biggest thing is how much blood. So I can tell you, there were it was R&D for about 3 or 4 months. There was like 50 blood dumps, and it was, is it 3, 4, or 5 gallons, right? Is it thin, thick, not thin at all? Do we dump it from here? Do we dump it from there? I can tell you guys, and you don't have to try this at home, most of the times you're going to miss. You're not going to hit the person you're aiming for, or you're going to hit their shoulder, or you're going to hit their wig. So, and then the thing was, is it going to hit her on the day?
And also, no pigs were harmed in the making of this movie. No actual pigs, anyway.
Right, well, not that I know. But anyway, so you are always wondering, God, how big should that blade be? How big is too big, right? How big is scary and how big is funny? You know what I mean?
That's right.
Because, in a horror movie, particularly like this, that actually is a horror movie, is dark, but also is funny. There are really dark, morbid, moments in it. These are big questions. Like, first of all, how much blood is too much blood? So every single time I would see her, I would realize, okay, we went too conservative, and I was always saying, will you put on more blood?
I showed up one day and I was covered in blood, nothing was clear, and she goes, yeah, we need more blood. And I went, there's no inch on me to cover in blood.
More blood. And with the dress, more blood. But then also, like she said, we had wet blood, we had fire blood, we had all these different kinds of blood. So you become an expert on, what that texture looks like, and is it scary?
I think one of the things to note is it's an R-rated movie, which I know you guys are all excited about. So you could depict the work of the book accurately. You didn't have to pull your punches, and I think that's one of the exciting things about what these guys have done.
I promised I was going to open this up to questions. I am a man of my word. So if you guys want to talk to the people up here, now is your chance. And I already see lines forming. We've got mics over here, we got a mic in the center, and we got a mic over there. And we're going to start moving this way to that way. So line up now, we'll get in as many as we can. We'll start with Kick-Ass over there if he can get his hood on. This one might be for Chloe. That's just a guess, but what gives you that idea?
Yeah, this one is for Chloe. You're psychic. So I'm a huge Kick-Ass fan, obviously. Huge fan of Carrie too, horror movie, buff. So really excited for that, but I have a question for Chloe, and just a little lead up to the question. Me and Hit Girl here, we're actually on the cover of Kick-Ass 2, the comic book. Like, our costumes are on the cover of that. And last week, I got a call, and I'm actually going to be in Kick-Ass 2.
Oh, you got
Yeah, thank you. I almost didn't make it to this because I have to fly out on Monday to, I won't say where the set is, but to the set.
Now you're bragging. Now you're bragging.
I